Ever felt like you're just, lost in a maze of workplace rules, trying to figure out your rights, what you're supposed to do, or even just like, is this place actually safe? And you just wish there was a shortcut, some way to get straight to what matters. Well, today, that's exactly what we're aiming for. We're diving deep into a really foundational document, Presidential Decree Null 442 from 1974. You probably know it as the Labor Code of the Philippines. And we're also looking at some key updates, specifically Department Order 252, Series of 2025. That one gives us some, well, pretty fascinating insights into occupational safety and health, or OSH. So, our mission today, pretty straightforward. We want to demystify this stuff. We'll look at where it came from, what it covers, which is its basic mandate, and crucially, what it means for you. Doesn't matter if you're an employer trying to follow the rules or an employee wanting to know your rights. We're going to pull out the key takeaways, hopefully without getting totally bogged down in legal jargon. So let's start right at the beginning. Where did this all come from? This isn't just some dusty old law, right?
Not at all. It's shaped millions of lives. It first came into effect back in 1974, PD 442.
Okay, 1974.
Yeah. And what's really insightful is its stated purpose. It wasn't subtle. It was called a decree instituting a labor code, thereby revising and consolidating labor and social laws to afford protection to labor, promote employment and human resources development, and ensure industrial peace based on social justice.
Wow, that's quite a mouthful, but very clear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Comprehensive. And designed to adapt. That's why it got renumbered in 2011. And then more updates in 2015, 2016. It has to stay relevant,
Makes sense. Work changes.
Right. And DOL, the Department of Labor and Employment, they actively try to make it accessible. There's this idea that, well, the language of the law must not be foreign to the ears of those who are to obey it.
So keep it understandable.
Which raises the question, how does a document from the 70s stay so central today? Is that core principle, social justice and the willingness to update?
Okay, so it's meant to be broad and adaptable. Who exactly does it cover? Is it like every worker?
Well, let's look at the bigger picture first. The basic policy, Article 3, it's powerful. It says, the state shall afford protection to labor, promote full employment, ensure equal work opportunities regardless of sex, race, or creed, and regulate the relations between workers and employers.
So it's about fundamentals.
Absolutely. Rights like self-organization, bargaining collectively, security of tenure, that's a big one, protection from unfair firing, and just, humane working conditions.
And then there's Article 4, construction in favor of labor. That sounds pretty significant.
It is. It basically means if there's any doubt about how to interpret the code.
It leans towards the worker.
Exactly. It tips the scales in favor of labor when things are unclear.
That must be a challenge sometimes for employers, I imagine.
It can be, yeah. It requires careful navigation. But in terms of who's covered, it's broad. It applies to all establishments and undertakings, whether for-profit or not. So most workplaces.
Okay. But there are exceptions.
Yes, specific ones. Government employees, they have their own rules. Managerial employees, too. Also field personnel, family members, depending on the employer. And workers paid purely by results, like piece rate workers.
Okay.
But, and this is important, many of those excluded groups, they often have protections under other parts of the code or different laws. They're not just left out in the cold.
Got it. So it's foundational, covers most people, leans towards protecting labor. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the day-to-day stuff. What does it actually say about your working hours, days off, how you get paid, the things people experience every day?
Right. This is where it really hits home. Let's start with hours. Article 83 generally sets the standard 8-hour workday.
Okay, standard 8 hours.
And Article 84 is specific about hours worked. It includes time you're on duty at your workplace, or even just suffered or permitted to work.
So not just actively working, but required to be available.
Precisely. Now, if you go over those 8 hours, that's overtime. Article 87 kicks in. Your regular wage plus at least 25% extra.
25%.
And if that overtime falls on a holiday or your scheduled rest day, it's even more. The rate for the first 8 hours plus at least 30% on top of that.
30% extra then. Okay.
And here's something interesting. Article 88. It says undertime cannot be offset by overtime.
Meaning?
Meaning, if you work only 6 hours one day, you can't just work 10 hours the next day and call it even without paying overtime for those extra 2 hours. They're separate calculations.
Ah, okay. That's a key detail.
Definitely. Now, employers can require emergency overtime sometimes. Article 89 lists specific reasons, things like war, imminent public danger, urgent repairs to machinery, or saving perishable goods. very specific situations.
Gotcha. So it's not just anytime the boss feels like it.
No. There are rules, and then there's rest. Article 91 guarantees a weekly rest period, at least 24 consecutive hours off after every 6 normal workdays.
Everyone needs a day off.
Right. The employer usually sets the schedule, but they have to try and respect employee preferences, especially for religious reasons.
And if you have to work on your rest day.
You get paid extra. An additional 30% compensation, according to Article 93.
Okay, 30% for rest day work. What about holidays?
Article 94 covers that. You get your regular daily wage for regular holidays, even if you don't work.
Nice.
And if you do work on a regular holiday, you get twice your regular rate, double pay.
Double pay for holiday work. Good to know.
And one more thing on time off service incentive leave. Article 95. After you've worked for 1 year, you're entitled to 5 days of yearly service incentive leave with pay.
5 paid days off after a year, that's built into the code.
Yep, it's a standard benefit.
Okay, so time off and hours are pretty well defined. Now, the big one, paychecks. How does the code protect your actual wages?
Crucial area. Article 102 says wages must be paid in legal tender.
Meaning actual money, right, not tokens or IOUs.
Exactly. Generally, no promissory notes or vouchers. Article 105 says payment should be made directly to the worker. There are exceptions, like if there's a force majeure, like a major disaster, or if the worker unfortunately passes away, then payment goes to heirs.
Makes sense. Direct payment is the rule.
And then there's Article 100. This one's huge. No diminution of benefits.
No diminishing benefits. What does that mean, practically?
It means if you're already enjoying certain supplements or benefits when the code came into effect, or maybe benefits established through company practice over time, the employer generally can't just take them away or reduce them. It protects established practices.
So it prevents employers from slowly chipping away at benefits.
That's the core idea, yeah. It provides a floor. Now, about wage deductions. Article 113 is very strict. Deductions are only allowed for specific things. Insurance premiums if you consent, union dues, mandatory contributions like SSS, PhilHealth, PAG-IBIG, or if there's a court order.
So not for just anything.
Definitely not. And Article 115 adds another layer. No deduction for loss or damage to tools or equipment unless the employee has been heard and their responsibility is clearly shown.
So you get a chance to explain, and they have to prove it was your fault.
Essentially, yes. Due process. And then there are specific prohibited acts. Article 116 forbids withholding wages unfairly or demanding kickbacks.
No kickbacks.
Article 117 says you can't make deductions just for the promise of getting or keeping a job.
Right, prevents exploitation there.
And critically, Article 118 prohibits retaliatory measures. Employers can't punish employees for filing a complaint or testifying in a labor case.
That's vital. Workers need to feel safe speaking up.
Absolutely. It protects the integrity of the whole system.
Okay, so those are the broad strokes applying to most workers.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the code recognizes some groups need maybe special attention.
Yes, absolutely. It raises that important question. How does a general law handle the specific needs of different workers?
So who are these groups?
Well, women, for example. Article 131 originally dealt with maternity leave. But it's crucial to know that this has been significantly improved by newer laws, like Republic Act 11-1210, the expanded maternity leave law. Much longer leave now.
So the code sets a base, but newer laws can build on it.
Exactly. The code also mentions family planning services, Article 132, and prohibits discrimination, like firing a woman because she gets married, Article 135.
Okay.
Minors, Article 137 sets minimum ages for employment. There are exceptions, like for TV or movies.
Child actors, right.
Right, but under very strict conditions, protecting their health, safety, schooling. Employers need a DOE permit for that. And Article 138 prohibits age discrimination in general.
Got it. What about domestic workers? Or kasambahay?
Good question. The original chapter in PD 442 on house helpers, that's actually been repealed.
Repealed, so they're not covered.
No, they're covered better now.
Right.
By Republic Act 10361, the Batasas Kambahay, or Domestic Workers Act.
Yeah.
But PD 442 laid that groundwork. The new law just expands on it significantly.
Ah, okay. So better protections now, like what?
Things like a much higher minimum wage. The original code mentioned P800 a month. Now, RA 10361 sets it at P2500 for the National Capital Region, for instance. And clear rights to board, lodging, medical care, even education access. Emphasis on humane treatment, no physical violence. It built on the spirit of PD 442.
That's a huge improvement. Anyone else specifically mentioned?
Yes, night workers. Article 154 defines them working at least 7 straight hours, including the period from midnight to 5 a.m.
Okay, night shift workers.
They require mandatory health assessments, Article 155. And employers need to provide proper facilities, Article 156, things like first aid, but also lactation stations, separate toilets, places to eat with safe water, and even transport or rest areas in some cases.
Specific requirements for night work safety.
Right, and Article 158 protects women night workers from dismissal just because pregnancy or childbirth might make them temporarily unfit for night duties.
So specific protections are layered onto the general rules. That makes sense. Now, beyond the daily grind and specific groups, what about overall well-being? Health and safety across the board. This is where that Department Order 252 comes in more strongly, right?
Exactly. The Labor Code itself, in Book 4, Title I, lays the foundation. Article 163 covers medical, dental, and occupational safety. It mandates things like having nurses available if you have 5,200 employees, or first aiders even for smaller places.
So basic medical access is required.
Yes, and for larger or more hazardous workplaces, it requires physicians and dentists on site for certain hours. It's about having an actual occupational health program, per Article 165.
Okay, so the code sets the stage. What does DO 252 add or clarify, specifically for OSH, since it's the implementing rules for the OSH law, RA 11058?
Right. DO 252 really fleshes things out. First, coverage is broad. Section 2. It applies pretty much everywhere work happens, establishments, projects, sites, even in economic zones, and including contracting arrangements.
So very few places are exempt from OSH rules.
Pretty much. And it specifically lists many high-risk industries, things like construction, chemical plants, mining, healthcare, deep-sea fishing, power generation, handling toxic stuff, even, interestingly, high-current EV charging services.
EV charging, that's specific.
Yeah, it reflects changing workplaces. The list helps employers in those sectors know they need extra vigilance.
So what are the core duties for employers under DO 252?
Well, they have to actively identify and manage the risks. That covers a whole range. Chemical, physical, biological hazards, but also ergonomic issues like posture and repetitive strain, and even psychosocial stress.
Psychosocial stress,
Yeah.
like workplace bullying or intense pressure.
Exactly. It's a broader view of safety. Employers must provide proper protective equipment, PPE, and crucially, they need to ensure employees and their safety reps participate in planning and monitoring the OSH program.
So workers have a say.
They're supposed to. Employers also have to act fast to prevent or abate imminent danger and report serious accidents or work stoppages to DOL.
And what about employees? What are their rights and duties here?
Key rights. The right to know, Section 5 workers, must be informed about hazards in a language they understand and get training.
Information is key.
Absolutely. And the right to report accidents, Section 7. They can report to the employer or directly to DOE. There's even a hotline, 1349, without fear of retaliation. That's critical.
No punishment for reporting safety issues.
None. In return, employees have duties too. They need to participate in OSH activities and follow the safety rules. It's a two-way street.
Makes sense. Does the order specify things like first aid rooms or personnel?
Oh yes, very specific requirements for personnel and facilities based on the level of risk and the number of workers. For example, a small place, 1050 workers, needs one treatment room. A bigger one, 100-500, needs a clinic with 2 beds.
So it scales up.
Right. And there are detailed lists of required first aid supplies, antiseptics, burn ointment, specific meds, plus mandatory reporting. Employers need to submit an annual medical report, AMR, and an annual work accident illness exposure data report, AEDR, by Jan 30th each year, and a monthly work accident illness report, WAIIR.
Lots of tracking and reporting. It forces attention on safety trends.
That's the idea. Continuous monitoring. And if they don't comply, penalties.
The consequences. What are we talking about?
Administrative fines, they start relatively small, maybe PHP 1000 for just not registering your establishment, but they ramp up. No first aider, PHP 3000 first offense, no safety officer, same, PHP 3000, no OSH program at all, PHP 5000 first offense.
Okay, those are fines per violation.
Yes, but here's the kicker. These fines can be imposed daily. Every day the violation continues,
Wow.
up to a maximum of PHP 100,000 per day until it's fixed. And there's a separate hefty PHP 100,000 fine for willful failure that leads to death or serious injury, or for obstructing inspectors, lying, or retaliating against whistleblowers.
So the potential cost of non-compliance is huge, the strong incentive to get it right.
Absolutely. But it's not just sticks, there are carrots too. The code also provides for incentives for companies that comply well.
Like what?
Access to training programs, maybe priority slots for safety officer training, recognizing good performance.
So support for those doing the right thing. That makes sense and leads into the broader social safety nets, doesn't it? Like compensation if something does go wrong.
Exactly. The Labor Code establishes the Employees Compensation Program, ECP, that's in Article 172. It's a tax-exempt program providing benefits for work-connected disability or death.
So if you get hurt or sick because of your job,
You can get benefits. For temporary total disability, it's about 90% of your average daily salary credit up to 120 days, capped currently at PHP 200 per day. For permanent total disability, meaning you can't work at all, it's a monthly income benefit for life, plus a bit extra for dependent children.
for life, that's significant.
It is. And for permanent partial disability, like losing a finger or an eye, there are scheduled benefits based on the body part affected.
Okay. And if the worst happens?
If it's a work-connected death, the primary beneficiaries get monthly income benefits, plus a funeral benefit, currently PHP 10,000.
How is this funded?
Employers contribute 1% of the employee's monthly salary credit to the state insurance fund, Article 189.
Just the employer pays.
Yes. Importantly, Article 194 says if an employer fails to pay their contribution, it doesn't stop the employee or their dependents from getting the benefits. The system still protects the worker.
That's a crucial safeguard. Okay, we've covered conditions, safety, compensation. What about the relationship itself, the power dynamic between workers and employers? How does the code promote fair play there?
Labor relations. A huge part of the code. It really asks, how do you foster industrial peace while still protecting workers' rights to organize and bargain?
A balancing act.
Definitely. Article 218 clearly states the policy. Promote free collective bargaining and negotiations and free trade unionism.
So supporting unions and negotiation.
Yes. And Article 253 gives almost everyone the right to self-organization to form, join, or help labor unions. It's a fundamental right.
The right to organize.
And the flip side is prohibiting unfair labor practices, or ULPs. These are treated very seriously, like criminal offenses against the state, Article 258.
Okay, what counts as a ULP?
There are lists for both sides. For employers, Article 259, it includes things like interfering with union organizing, forcing employees not to join a union, contracting out work just to bust a union, dominating or controlling a union, or discriminating against union members.
So undermining the union, basically.
Right. And labor organizations have ULPs too. Article 260. Things like coercing employees to join, causing an employer to discriminate against a non-member, charging crazy high fees, or illegal picketing tactics.
So rules for both sides to play fair.
Exactly. And if disputes happen, the code provides clear dispute resolution channels.
Yeah.
First step, usually, is mandatory conciliation mediation, Article 234. Almost all labor issues have to go through this attempt to settle amicably first.
Try to talk it out before escalating.
Yes. If that fails, then labor arbiters step in. They handle the big stuff. ULPs, money claims over PHP 5,000, termination disputes, Article 224. Their decisions can be appealed to the NLRC.
Okay, the formal legal route.
But there's another route. For disputes about interpreting a collective bargaining agreement, CBA, or company policies, voluntary arbitrators have jurisdiction, Article 274, chosen by the parties, usually.
So arbitration specifically for contract interpretation.
Right. And note, flagrantly violating a CBA's economic terms is also considered a ULP.
Got it. What about the most visible conflicts, strikes and lockouts?
The code recognizes the right to strike for workers and lockout for employers, Article 278, but with strict rules.
What kind of rules?
You need a notice period, usually 30 days if it's a bargaining deadlock, 15 days if it's about a ULP, though for really severe ULPs like union busting, the notice might be shorter or waived.
Okay, advance warning.
And you need approval. A strike needs a majority vote by secret ballot from the union members. A lockout needs similar approval from the company's board or partners.
So it has to be a democratic decision.
Supposedly, yes. And the Secretary of Labor has power here. In industries considered indispensable to the national interest, they can step in, assume jurisdiction, and order everyone back to work, stopping the strike or lockout.
National interest intervention, like what industries?
Often things like power, water, hospitals, transport, things that could cripple the country.
Makes sense. Any rules about behavior during a strike?
Yes. Unlawful acts during picketing, like violence, blocking entry-exit, intimidation, are prohibited. And DLE can also facilitate something called improved offer balloting, Article 280.
Improved offer balloting.
Yeah, it's a way to try and settle. DOA might supervise a vote where union members decide whether to accept a new, potentially improved offer from the employer. It can help break deadlocks.
Interesting. So, multiple mechanisms to try and resolve conflict. Wow. Okay, we have really covered a lot of ground today. From the code's birth in 74, its broad scope, the daily work rules, safety via DO 252, all the way to how disputes are handled. It's clear PD 442, along with its updates, really is a comprehensive blueprint for work in the Philippines.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if you connect it all, you see PD442 isn't just sitting there. It's this dynamic framework. It keeps adapting or trying to adapt to protect workers, push for fair practices, and maintain that idea of industrial peace based on social justice. It's fundamentally about making the law work for the people it affects.
Yeah, creating that foundation, right? Where everyone, employers and employees, kind of knows the score, knows their rights and responsibilities, hopefully leading to a fairer workplace.
Which does leave us with a pretty big question, though. As technology keeps racing ahead, new ways of working pop up all the time. How will fundamental labor protections like PD 442 continue to adapt? How will they hold up and evolve in the face of, the gig economy, remote work, AI? That's the ongoing challenge.
Definitely something to think about. So, for you listening, what really stands out from all this? What part of the labor code, maybe something we discussed today, changes how you see your workplace? Food for thought until our next deep dive.